Welcome. This is a tale of the three women of Jamaica, a nation through her eyes. I hope that you will sit for the conversation and enjoy the journey as we traverse history, as we try to remove the mystery that exists. So join us on this encounter as we discuss the three types of women you can find in Jamaica. And stay to the end, and you'll know which one is my favorite and why. Now, welcome to RoadTripja, the heartbeat of Jamaica's road. This is yours truly to take you on this important excursion, a moment in time down memory lane. I should bring to your attention that if you're watching the very first rendition of this presentation, this will be an unscripted presentation and just a pronouncement of that which the mind has conceived. So it will be raw, unedited, as is. As we have the thoughts, we'll share them with you. I hope that you will enjoy the raw nature of this presentation. And if you like this kind of content, then we'll consider doing more raw content like this. So let us think about Jamaica. Jamaica, a land of wood and water, a land of struggles and songs. But beneath the music, beneath the myth, beneath the maroons lies a great story. The story of her women. Yes, her women are important. We are not negating the fact that men play a very critical and vital role in the society at large. But this is the untold journey of the three daughters of the island. And the three daughters that we want to focus on are uptown, downtown, and the country. And yes, everything in between. Because we like to mix it so that the seasoning and the sauce is nice, not to mention just right. Before Jamaica was Jamaica, there was Xaymaca, the land of the Arawaks, the Tainos. Women gather in cassava, bathing in their natural state in the river. They were doing their domesticated roles in the family. Matriarchy was not a consequence, but it was the community spirit. The original inhabitants of Jamaica, before the European invasion, they called the island Jamaica, meaning the land of wood and water, the land of the spring. Yes, that is Jamaica's history. That is where we are coming from. But to truly understand the three types of women in Jamaica, uptown, downtown, and the country, it's important that we look at the historical context that shapes Jamaica's society, that shape our history, that is embedded and ingrained in our minds, especially how we were impacted by colonization and the journey towards freedom for our country and our women. Colonial history of Jamaica was a very tragic moment. To those who were beneficiaries, they may say that it was a very prosperous time to them, but to us, the people in the country, it was a tragic moment. Our women were violated, they were raped, they were abused, they were turned into breeding factories, they were turned into incubators, they were turned into medical experiment. That was what our women had to go through, and they had no real level or position of authority or control. They were oppressed. They had to bear the burden that comes with being under an oppressor. Jamaica was initially inhabited based on history by the Taínos people before it was invaded by the savage Christopher Columbus, who arrived in about 1494, as was documented in multiple literature. The island was colonized by Spain initially, but then the Britain monarchy took control in about 1655. Under the British colonial rule, Jamaica became a major hub for sugar production, relying heavily on enslaved Africans brought forcibly to work on plantations. So now you understand the atrocities that the Jamaican people have felt. And you can now appreciate how it impacts our current family structure and dynamics. This is just to give us an idea as to what is to come. Because when you are hurt in the past, it is difficult, even with time and generations passing, it is difficult to really heal from that hurt. You may amend certain situation, you may forgive, but the hurt still exists, the residue still exists because the act occurred. So the impact on women based on this slavery situation. So African women in Jamaica face brutal oppression. They were not only subjected and forced into labor. We're not talking about just having babies. We're talking about hard labor, like they were prisoners. But they were also dehumanized. They were not given the right to have proper baths. They were not given the right to take care of themselves the way they should take care of themselves, because they were not seen as human beings, but they were seen as property, and not the good kind of property. The property that can be used, and when it's no longer useful, it can be discarded. That's the kind of property that the women of Jamaica at one point were considered to be. And now you can understand why Jamaican men behave the way they behave. It is not because they want to be oppressive, but it's because they want to protect their women, protecting them from another invasion of the enemy. And now you can understand why many persons have nothing to do with the monarchy, because of the oppression that our women had faced in the past, not to mention what they did to the men. That is a totally another story for another time and another sitting. But as we continue down this journey to memory lane, we can realize that these things linger in our memory. And that is why every Black History period, the imagery that is shown speaks such great volume to the people in the country. It's was not too long ago that Jamaica stepped outside of being fully enslaved. So freedom is less than 200 years old. Can you imagine that? If we want to get into the specific, we can realize that freedom is less than at least 100 years old. But what to do? Just move on. But in moving on, we have to position ourselves not to make the same mistake twice. Our foreparents pay the price. We don't have to pay that same price. Despite the hardship, the enslavement that the woman faced, they played a critical role in preserving the African culture, the African spirit. They played a pivotal role in nurturing the family and sometimes even leading in resistance effort. So women are very vital to the whole dynamics of the Jamaican landscape. Emancipation and freedom exists, yes, in theory. But to be honest, are we truly emancipated and are we truly free if we still have to pledge allegiance to the oppressor? If the oppressor still controls the land, are we truly emancipated? You may say that we should forgive and forget. Yes, we can forgive. Yes, we can forget. But the laws have been put in motion to protect them for their indiscretion, while we have to still walk and live with the burdens that the oppression has caused on the people. The abolishment of slavery in the British Empire came with the Slave Abolishment Act in 1833, but it took effect in Jamaica about August 1st, 1834. However, there is a but. Full freedom wasn't immediate. There was an apprenticeship period until 1838, where formerly enslaved people still had to work for their former owner. So the same person who beat you, the same person who ridiculed you, the same person who despised you, the same person who treated you like an animal, you had to work for that person. So were you really, really free? Women's freedom and social role post emancipation. Let us examine that for a little bit. Once slavery was abolished, Jamaica began to assert themselves in a new way socially, economically, and politically. Yes, when we talk about politics, we talk about violence. We talk about being arrogant. We talk about being above the law. Yes, we understand all of that. That is the nature of the game. And that there is a residue from the enslavement. So our politicians are still living in the cycle of being enslaved by how they do and carry out their bidding. They should be working on behalf of the people, but once they're in power, the people have no access to them. So, what is it that we are really voting for? Some persons benefit from the handout, yes. Some persons benefit from the governmental contracts, yes. Some persons benefit, but everyone is not an equal beneficiary. You may be saying equal opportunity but not equal outcome. That may be a position to take, but is that the way that it was supposed to be? Is this true democracy? Or is this something else? Are we a republic and we don't even know that we are a republic? So many women moved into domestic work, the helpers, the cleaners, the maids, small scale farming, market trading, which helped to lay the foundation for Jamaicans' informal economy. And once money's been made in Jamaica, the government is always going to find a way to try to get taxation from that. And they're going to call it formalization so that they can protect you. But you were doing this before them, you were doing this without their protection. So why now, all of a sudden, when you are being profitable, they want to protect you? You don't really need their protection. They are just protecting their pockets to ensure that you are giving them the appropriate cut. So the colonial system still limited women's right, especially voting and property ownership. But over time, women's role expanded, leading to an increased activism and participation in public life. Because, to be honest, it's still on the books that after 10 p.m. a woman should not even be seen on the road. But that is not a law that is abided by. So women don't have the same freedoms as men. And the system of law is not equitable to both men and women. Some laws are anti men, while some laws are anti women. But as a collective, we desire for each person to be considered as human beings because that is exactly who we are. So, women in Jamaica's 20th century has evolved. The 20th century saw women having important positions. Women gained the right to vote in 1944, a key step in political empowerment. Hence, we had the opportunity of experiencing a female prime minister in the country of Jamaica. And if you know who that is, you know who that is. She was with the Orange Party. So that is just giving you a clue. So you can just do your search on the internet and find that lady. There is even a street that is named after her. So women became active in labor movement, cultural experience. You see, the head of culture, youth, and empowerment is a woman. Many of our members of parliament are actually women, more than before. And leadership role, independent movement were led by women. So today, Jamaican women continues to challenge and redefine the traditional roles that have been placed upon her. But sometimes the women tend to push themselves over the precipice of tradition, go outside the bounds of that which is traditional, and finds themselves in hot water. We don't want that for a woman. We want a woman to be well positioned with the necessary safety nets so that they can be preserved for the greater good. So let us connect all of this history to understand our woman. So the history of colonization, enslavement, and emancipation have shaped the social fabric of Jamaica, and it has influenced how women identify and their roles have evolved, which can be reflected in our position piece: uptown, downtown, and of country woman, which you could consider maybe the country woman is our favorite type of woman. So understanding this background helps us to appreciate the resilience, the diversity, and the complexity of Jamaican womanhood. Now, let's steer towards the invasion. It was in 1494 the Spanish came bearing crosses and canoe. The first entry into Jamaica, women got the blunt of their entry. They took with them, these Europeans took with them diseases. They did with our women savagely. They enslaved them. The body of the woman became a battleground. So the Spaniards arrived in 1494. And let us consider this to be the savage Christopher Columbus' first voyage. So Christopher Columbus claimed Jamaica for Spain in the said year. Spain settlers colonized in about 1509. The enslaved population over time, Taino people, diminish because of the disease that they brought. Our women died. Our men died as well. But we're talking about a woman. So a lot of things has happened. History has occurred. But we can't allow history to repeat itself. But I don't want you to forget the Maroon community, the escaped African slaves, which we came upon in the 1600s, starting around 1655. After the British took control in 1655, enslaved Africans who escaped the plantations formed a Maroon community in the inner mountainous region. They resisted colonial control and maintained African tradition. So now you have an idea as to why the Jamaicans somehow remind you of Africans, because we are one and the same. We are brothers and sisters. It's just that some persons don't yet realize it. Now, the British brought chains and Africans, hundreds of thousands, women pulled from tribes, the Igobu, the Yoruba, the Akan. They were forced into servitude. But guess what? She served, she fought, she sang. The Maroons, women became the women of the mountains. And we're grateful that the Maroons stood their ground. So the British colonizers colonized in about 1655. The detail can be seen when there was the takeover from Spain to establish the British colony. So this was like a pass-round donkey situation. So when you can't use the country anymore, you find somebody else to give it to so that they can use the country. I want you to just bear in mind all of the caveats that exist. So the enslaved Africans existed here. They were promised emancipation. But did they really receive the emancipation that they were supposed to get? In 1838, freedom, or so they said. Sometimes you can't listen to what the people who are oppressing you are saying, because they don't have your best interest at heart. The only interest they have is in lining their pockets. No vote, no voice. Just the memory of the pain and the will to rise. So they are setting the rules, but they position the rules in such a way that you cannot, in your capacity, reach and actualize them. Because guess what? You're not a fully human in their eyes. Not that it's the true statement, but that is what they are trying. to impose on your thoughts, impose on your mind, impose on your ideology. So we had a state in which there was indentured servitude and immigration from the Indians, the Chinese, the Europeans. So we have Indians here, we have Chinese here, because people from China always come into Jamaica. We have Europeans, people of all over the world in European region comes to Jamaica. So after post 1838, after emancipation, into the late 19th century and early 20th century, we had a period of indentured servitude. Indentured servitude is basically a lower version of slavery. So after slavery was abolished, indentured laborers from India and China were brought here to work in agricultural sector. Europeans immigrate. So we had the Portuguese, we had the Irish. They all arrived in small numbers but significant, because some of your relatives have Irish blood running through us. African then Irish blood running through us. Yes. So you may be mixed with someone that you don't even know. Now, you may be saying, so with all of this, Jamaica must speak many languages. That is what I thought when I was in school in Jamaica, that Jamaicans spoke many languages, but it was brought to my attention that the official language of Jamaica is English. So even the languages that we speak, like the Patois, it was at that time not considered an official language. The many tongues of Jamaica exist. You may hear African dialects being spoken. You may hear Hindi. You may hear Yoruba. You may hear Portuguese. You may hear Spanish. There is a plethora of tongues that the Jamaican people should be able to speak, but can they speak it? That there is up for debate. So Jamaicans speak many tongues. English, the master language. We have the master language. We have the master bedroom. All of this is coming from slavery. But Patois is the language of defiance. Brought from Africa. She brought that rhythm. From Spain, we have the names of the roads. Rio Grande, Rio Cobre, Rio Mino. We have all of these Spanish naming places. But we always overlook the Patois. If you will permit me to embark on this dialect excursion of the native tongue, which I don't practice, so forgive me if my enunciation or pronunciation is not up to your standard. But let us give it a shot. Medea, I am here. That is basically what we're saying. Galang, go away. But you see, these words that we say, they have different meaning. Mina back down. What is that saying? I will not back down, because I believe that this fight can be won. Yeah, so let us just use all the information that we have to put the timeline together to see all the languages that we should be speaking here in Jamaica. So in the beginning of time, because the Tainos is the first inhabitant that was allegedly discovered on Jamaica, apparently they were lost, but that's another story. So the Tainos were here and they spoke whatever language the Tainos spoke. My history is not connecting the dots. to the languages that the Taínos spoke. But I know that Yalas, Ochirios, uh, are some places that the Arawaks had some influence in naming. And words like the hammock, the barbecue, cassava, those are things that the Taínos uh, were known for. So we have the Spaniards coming to take over after the Taínos were here. They invaded and they brought religion. They brought the cross, the crosses, and the canoes, not to mention the disease that they brought. So from the Spaniards, we got a few words like a plaza. So when you see the plaza, that there came from the Spaniards. Cabana, that there is uh, Spaniard, name it. And then when we go to the towns, we have Ochirios, we have Rio Cobre, we have Montego Bay. So all of these things are based on our past encounters, our past relationship, our past oppressions. No, then the British took over from the Spaniard because this is a pass run donkey situation, and English became the official language, the strongest influences, and it's used in the government and the educational system. So, even though Patois is a language in Jamaica, Patois is not spoken as a standard language. We still rely on the oppressor's language to be the standard, because you have different versions of English. You have the American English, you have the British English, you have the international English. We use the British English. So our spellings are a little bit different from the American in some words. Now, after the British took over, we build our education system based on their ideology, and their education system was a system of oppression. Their education system is a system to hold you back, but yet put you in such a tight jacket that anywhere else in the world you go, you will seem like you are superior. So the system of education that the British brought had its place, and it was not designed to empower really, but it was designed to try to separate, weed out. But it created some of the best and brightest mind, and guess what? Majority of the best and brightest are no longer in Jamaica. So that there is a travesty, and that there is something that we as a people will just have to deal with, and this cycle will continue with every single generation. They will just take whatever is given to them and use it for their advantage. And there's no fault that we can say to them for doing that, because they have to do what is in their best interest. Because the government is not going to come and save them, they have to save themselves. Next, we move from the British situation, let's call it that, and move into the enslaved Africans. So we have a lot of words that came from the African enslavement. We have like Obia, Nyam, we have like Dopi, we have rhythms in our pronunciation and enunciation. That there comes from the African embedment in our linguistics. Then we are very grateful that we had the indentured servants coming over. So, from the East Indians, you know that we have influence in our food. The roti, they are the ones we got it from, and the curry, it's curry chicken, not chicken curry. That's just a Jamaican way of putting it. Some places like Trinidad may say chicken curry, but in Jamaica we will say curry chicken. Now, the Chinese came here as indentured servitude, but the Chinese are now in a position of power in the country. They came here and they did us justice in they contributed to cuisine. So we have Chinese restaurants. They did us justice in getting us started in certain business, connecting us back to China, so that's the money from Jamaica can flow right back into China, which we have to be grateful for them for doing that, because majority of the Jamaicans never understood the communication barrier that exists in China, because none of majority of the Jamaicans don't even speak Cantonese. Majority of them don't even speak Mandarin or traditional Chinese. Majority don't have a clue as to how to communicate. So they had to be the bridge for us. So the East Indians, I should make mention, they brought Hindi and Tamil to the country to add flavor to our linguistic prowess. Now, we have some Portuguese uh, resonance existing in our idiomatic expression, and some early Jew settlers who fled came, landed here. Then we had, yes, a few Jews from Spain, Portugal. Their influence is mainly by their surname. That is what you can see in the history of this country. So, the official language of Jamaica, I should let you know this, is English. It's not Patois, even though Patois is official language for Jamaica in other countries. And did you know that some countries don't even recognize Jamaica as an English speaking country? Yes. Some first world, allegedly, country do not recognize Jamaica. So you have to do English as a second language in order to enter some first world countries. Yes. So English is the official language. So this language is used in government, it's used in the educational system, it's used in the legal system, it's used in media, and any formal communication methodology. And this language has been embedded since the last colonization exercise, which we are still bondage to as a country. So this is just characteristics of the British influence on Jamaica, and a lot of Caribbean countries have British influences as well. So Jamaica Patois is the national language, or what we call broken English. But to be honest, it's not really broken English. We should not consider it to be broken English. We should consider it to be its own language, its own dialect, its own embodiment. But that is a conversation for another sitting. But in order for us to get to that, we have to standardize it. Now, let us get to the meat of the matter, the matter of the meat that you came here to enjoy with us. The three types of women that exist in Jamaica. We have the uptown, we have the downtown, and guess what? We have the country. Now, when you're born in the hills, we're talking about the Beverly Hills, these young ladies, they go to private school, they go do ballet, they do ballet classes, they do all kind of stuff. She's born behind the gates in uniform, and etiquette is up to par. She watches foreign soap operas and drinks special beverages. She's uptown, she's polished, she's from a powerful family. Sometimes she has pale skin. You understand why she has pale skin? Well, you will understand as we progress. Sir, the uptown individual or profile is educated, affluent, polished, often urban, middle class to upper class, mostly upper class or super upper class. Her cultural trait, she speaks the standard English or she code switch. If she's mixing with persons who are not in her class or caliber, she will come down to their level. So she code switch down there, so that's in her mind they can understand and they can find her to be amiable. She attends university and she's exposed to global trends, global trades, global perspective. Her perception or views are similar to those who are elitists and those who are privileged. Sometimes she's disconnected from the grassroots culture. The fashion is different, the lifestyle is different, the aspirations are different. And you know why it's different? Because the culture in the uptown neck of the woods is very much different from in downtown. And sometimes the uptown women don't even want to mess around going downtown. They rather to spend their big bucks uptown so they don't have to deal with those individuals downtown. So you may be positioned to see what we are presenting. And if you are not seeing it, we'll present it in another sitting. So you must understand that the uptown young lady learns English before she even learns to dance, or even sometimes to pray. Some of them don't even understand the patois that is spoken in the country. So, yes, Jamaica is segmented. Yes, there are different categories of individuals. These institution, these persons goes to institution of higher learning in a segregated facility. Let's call it that, because not the average Jamaican will not be able to go to the schools that the people from uptown go to, the private entities. All right. So she's the one that becomes a doctor, the lawyer, the activist. She leads in the boardroom, but even the uptown woman, she has to battle stereotypes. Because to the average Jamaican, she's too soft, she's too foreign, she's too privileged, but she has to work, right? Isn't something wrong with that? Just to be Jamaican enough. Can you imagine that? Well, that there is a blessing and a curse. Her skin complexion is the right one because it's lighter than the average Jamaican. So she'll get a pass and she'll be placed on the front line. She'll get to get the promotions even if she's not as qualified as the others. That is the privilege that comes with being from an uptown address. Now let's go to the downtown woman. So you know that the city sometimes is filled with blood, bloody streets. When you think about Spanish Town, when you think about the Coronation Market, when you think about the dance halls settings, ooh, that there is a deadly place. So she is Kingston's fire. This is a downtown girl. She's raised on a lot of party and prayer. Can you believe that? If you know what party is, party is nice. When I used to eat it, it was good food. But prayer is even better. Good thing that she has prayer. She goes to church whether in accordance with the government sanctions on Sunday or in accordance to her truth on Saturday. This kind of woman, the downtown woman, she's a street hustler on Monday, but she's bold, she's beautiful. But don't forget that she's battered and she has been broken. Downtown is not the best place to be cultivated, to grow, but these women do exist. You may find them to be obnoxious, depend on where on the spectrum you are as a man, if you are a man, or if you're a woman, you may find, if you're from uptown, the downtown people, to be obnoxious because they're very loud most times. But the thing is, no one really listens to them if they're not making noise. They are always colorful exhibits. They are always at the parties, the dance hall, because that is where they can find love. And remember, birds of a feather flock together. So based on where you are, based on where you see yourself, that is where you'll take a woman from if you're a man, or if you want family or you want friends, then you'll go to the place where you can find those kind of people, right? So this kind of woman, she's going to be raising her child in one hand, she'll be selling some goods from another hand, her children may be without fathers, and she will be proud to be a single mother. Ah, yes, that is a travesty that these downtown women have to face. So, though our profile may say that she's bold, she's expressive, she's street smart, she's resilient, guess what? This type of woman is deeply immersed in the culture. She's deeply immersed in the Jamaican Creole, the dancehall. She's understands the urban struggle. She knows the tricks and she knows the links. The perspective of her is often misunderstood, yet she represents the cultural authenticity and rawness. The fashion is on point, the music is there, the economic hustle is there, the independence is there. She wants to do everything by herself. Even if there's no man there, she will get things done. And this is the kind of woman who will hold down a man. But you have to be the right kind of man to be dealing with this kind of woman, because this kind of woman, if you're the wrong kind of man, will drive you insane. Because it takes a special kind of man to control the downtown woman, to give her the protection that she needs. Because maybe her machines are bigger than yours. You don't know. You have to just stay away from things you don't understand. So if you are a sophisticated individual, I would suggest you to go uptown and find someone sophisticated. If you understand how the downtown system works, and you understand that if you go downtown you may get a broken machinery, then, and you want to use that, fix that machine and use it, then that's up to you. You can choose whatever it is that you want. You see, every stage, every classification of the women are different because of how they were cultured. The downtown lifestyle is a rougher lifestyle than the uptown. The uptown is prim, proper, AC and all those kind of stuff. The struggle doesn't really exist in the way it exists downtown. So the downtown people may be living off Riverton city dumps. Not all downtown, but that there could be a possibility. So you have to bear in mind what you're getting yourself into. Do you want a relationship with an uptown girl or a downtown girl? That's up to you to decide. I am not going to choose on your behalf, because I will not be held responsible for your choice or the lack thereof. Now, let us get to the meat of the matter. The country woman. You see, this country woman is very important, because without her, a lot of the history, a lot of the femininity would have been lost. She is the mother. Her alarm clock is always going off. She's sweet in her fragrance. She may smell like wood fire, smoke, or hibiscus. It doesn't really matter, because her character is what is important. She'll make you a strong tea, I can guarantee that. She is usually humble. She has humor. She has understanding. And she is the type that will understand almost anything. She is a memory keeper. She's the one that will pray for you. She's the healer. She's the warrior. She's the most undervalued woman. But she's the woman that cannot be outdone. So this woman, this country woman, I know we, as Jamaican people, we talk country bunking. We say that the women that come from country are country bunking because they are clueless to what takes place in town. They are not tricksters as much as those people who are in the town atmosphere or the urbanized atmosphere. But it all comes down to how you were cultured, how you were brought up. So the profile of the country woman is she's grounded into tradition. She's family oriented. She's hardworking. So if you have some cows, she'll take care of those cows. If you have some goats, she'll take care of the goat. And she's not gonna complain. If you don't have any money, she's still alright. She'll go find a way to get the money that you need as a man. I'm not telling you to take up a country woman to use and abuse her. I'm telling you that a country woman will do right by you. So her cultural tree, she's strong and she's connected to the land, spiritual, and she enjoys natural living. Her perspectives is simple. You may consider her to be naive, but she represents the purity of the culture. She has wisdom and she has strength. She is the one who is willing to farm. She is the one who is willing to do domestic duties. She is the one who understands the local remedies. She is the one who understands storytelling. She is the one that if you're on the come up or you're already established, you probably would overlook the downtown, overlook the uptown, but when you get a country woman, she's like the baby. So she can be trained to be whatever it is that you want her to be. So if you want her to be sophisticated, just send her to school. And she will become sophisticated even more than those you may have thought of comparing her to. If you want her to learn anything, she's willing to learn it. If you want her to take on additional responsibility, she will do just that. Jamaica has three main types of women: the uptown, the downtown, and the country. Now, if you're a woman, if you're a Jamaican woman, I want you to leave in the comments, what kind of woman are you? And if you are a Jamaican man or a man from anywhere else in the world, what type of Jamaican woman would you think would be most ideal to be a wife? Just leave it in the comments so that we can have a conversation, and then we can take this conversation to another level. But before we go, I want you to realize something. That though we have distinguished the three main classes of women, we have the big braggadocious uptown woman, then we have the downtown woman, now we have our country woman. Though we have all these three types of women, I want you to know that these three women have three different paths, but yet they all live on one island. The only time some of them meet are in the classroom. or in politics, or in the markets, or when they're listening or loving on the same song. They are not categories, they are shades of the same soul. I want you to just understand that. So the uptown woman organizes a fundraiser. The downtown woman helps a teen girl. The country woman leading prayer over the sick and elderly. So these three women are basically one and the same. The same fire is within all of them. Jamaican womanhood is not monochromatic or monolithic. It is a rhythm. Uptown grace, the downtown fire, and the country faith. Together, they are Jamaica. With that said, we have to dedicate this one to the woman who is on the rise, the woman who is making headway despite the struggles, despite the circumstances. And as men, let us support the woman as much as is possible. With that said, signing out from RoadTripja, the heartbeat of Jamaica's road is Dr. A. Walk, ride, drive, and fly good until we meet again. Be blessed.